God on this country. So, happy Navratri, everyone. So, essentially, I think I wrote this like a couple of days ago, and all Navratri, they have, well, at least the one which happens in the month of Chaitra, the lunar month of Chaitra, which is nothing but when the sun is in Pisces and the moon is also in the sign of Pisces. So it's a new moon. So it heralds like a new year, which is nothing but the Samvatsara. In Sanskrit, Samvatsara is nothing but the whole year is a bright new year. And each of these Samvatsaras, which I will come to in a bit, but essentially this particular, when the Hindu New Year begins in the Chaitra, it's called the Chaitra Shukla Pratipad. Now I'll unpack a little bit on that. Chaitra is the lunar month, which is very simple, of Chaitra, which is nothing but the when the sun is in Pisces, and the new moon is also happens in Pisces. Now you may say, why Pisces? Because it is a Vasant Ritu. It is the start of a very auspicious time. And also Vasant Ritu is springtime, and once the day after the new moon in Pisces is begins the brand new year, and it also begins the 9 nights of Durga. Now, each of these 9 nights have a
Well,
very powerful significance. And I will
one question.
yeah.
Would that day be yesterday or today as the first day after the new moon?
It's today. So today is the first day, and yesterday was a new moon, right? Good question, Anton. So yesterday was a new moon. So actually, yesterday is when we begin. So on a separate note, I'm also going to add a little bit that we often, as jyotishis, as astrologers and all that, we also read the chart of nations, the chart of, what is happening in the world from the new moon, which is yesterday, which happened. And that new moon is called the specific chart is called the Chaitra Shukla Pratipad chart, or a mundane chart. And that we read, obviously it will vary when the new moon is exact for various nations. So in the UK, we will do a little sample if time permitting. Otherwise, we can always do it another time. But essentially, or you can read it in my blog post, which I put it up on Sonwa Telegram group. So there it is, I put up the chart for UK, which doesn't look very promising. But essentially, then the new moon happens at different times, throughout the world. And that country, each country will have a specific sort of new moon happening. And the way of course, the planets won't change, but the lagna or the ascendant will change, and how it lands, where it lands, the day it happens also, is very vital information. And the hour that it happens, which is called the hora, which packs a lot of information. And that's how we read the mundane chart. Now there is another important thing. Samvatsara is, this year we are starting the Shubhakrut or Shubhakrit. In some places it's called the Shubhakrit. Now I'm going to just switch a little bit of the screens here, just to show you another aspect of one.
If you recall,
Let me resume the recording. So essentially, where were we? So we were here regarding the, you can read about this, but essentially I wanted to bring about that this particular, the Hindu New Year is referred to also as the Ugadi or the Yugadi, or, various parts of the country have different ways of it. They call it, they eat like sweets and they make all of that. So it's a big festival thing. And also it's auspicious to buy gold and, things like that. But this also heralds the start of Navratri, which begins today. So the day after, for 9 nights of Durga. And it is essentially a very powerful time for fasting and for various sadhanas. Okay. Now, each of them, it is given in the Devi Mahatmyam, and each of these days is when she slaughtered one of the asuras or the demigods. Okay, and that's how. And each of these, but it is symbolic in nature. So each of these days is essentially you can get rid of some of the negativity, things that don't work for you, and things like that, things which are pulling you down in terms of karmically. You can eliminate that through with her help. And going forward, essentially the Samvatsara, and it is also the start of the Samvatsara, which means, various texts have talked about, the Brihad Samhita have talked about. So anyone, let's say, for example, born in the year 1963, their Saturn is in a particular sign, and Jupiter is in a particular sign, and the sun is in a particular sign. So the Jovian years, that is it's the Saturn and Jupiter sort of play at an angle. Each of these have been given a certain amount of per year, how they the angle between them, and they are not called nothing but the Jovian years, and there are totally 60 of them. As you can see, there are, each of these there are 60 of these Jovian years, or they are called the Samvatsara, and they span 1 year. And so whatever you are born in, it has a very, year you're born in has got a very specific meaning. And the story goes like this, that sage Narada or Narad Muni, he's a great sage and one of the greatest devotees of Lord Vishnu. He basically wanted to experience life on earth, how it is to be a human being. So he turned himself into a woman by the help of Lord Krishna, because he went to Lord Krishna and he said, I want to experience the great delusion, or the great illusion, or the Maya. And so he turned himself into the Lord Krishna turned him to a Naradi, a cowherd gopi, a young maiden who got married, and to a very handsome man, and then and gave birth. And but she also went into a depression when one of her sons died. And then the story goes like this, that she was in so much depression, because that's how she wanted to experience life on earth. um, and eventually then she was also granted 60 sons, but then it got very tiresome to do all the work for 60 sons. And so finally, the 60 sons basically, they were always fighting, and all that comes with families and large families and things like that. So basically Narad went back to Lord Krishna or Vishnu and said, like, what do I do to silence my 60 sons? They're like, it's a constant activity, flurry of activity, and I'm exhausted. So Lord Vishnu said, okay, I will give you a rulership of 1 year per son, and then you can kind of and in a cycle of 60 years. And that is how the cycle came about. But it is an interaction of Jupiter and Saturn, and astronomically you can read about it. It is and right now, last year we were in Plava, which is like full of I'm going to just look for the link. And this year we are in Shubhakrit, which is, so anyone born in 63 has that. Now, if I click on the link on Shubhakrit, it pulls up all the 60 years and the significations. Brihad Samhita has given extensive signification of each of these. So if we jump straight to the 36 one, Plava was last year, and it said, essentially, on worldly matters, this will be a widespread of contagious epidemics during the year. That was the highlight in Yavana Jataka. So this is kind of like, we have lived through that anyway. So it's not exactly, wasn't past couple of years, hasn't been great. Shubhakrit is a much better one. So I think we will find that a couple of years for us, we will get respite before a really horrible 2024 begins, because Shubhakrut is associated with endowed with good fortune, learning, courtesy, humility, excellent virtuous skills, long lived, and has many sons, wealth, property, and all that is highlighted. So economically, I think it will be okay. And so the native born in Samvatsara of Shobhakrut, which is the next year. So next year also seems to be quite a positive one. But the year after, which is the 2024, as you can see, this highlighted one to 2025 is not a nice year, I think. But then, I think it's there are other indications, and we won't even go into the Western one, because there are, I'm sure Antot will say, oh, but there is a big Pluto thing happening in 2024, but we won't go into that. Okay. But I'm aware of
2023 and 2024 as well,
Yeah.
when it goes in the second time. But also the eclipse, the solar eclipses that will be occurring in that year will be quite significant in both 23 and 24.
Yeah. So anyway, so that is the thing. So, but our intention is our well-being. So, coming back to all the going back further. So here's a list on the website of all of them. You can read about the year you were born, and because it's a very powerful and a very interesting, each of the years have a specific significances. And the thing is that people who are born in 63 are having like their year return, you see, because Saturn has gone in the same position in the sign of Capricorn sidereal, and Jupiter has gone in Pisces. So the people, by and large, people who are born in 63 are literally belong to the Shubhakrut group, Samvatsara. And so they are having like a year return, so needless to say, they are also having, you could argue it out saying they're having a Jupiter return as well as a Saturn return, 860, 58 to 60. Yes, indeed, that is true. But is a combination, is a Saturn and Jupiter combination, which is really important. Now, coming back, the 9 nights of Durga.
May I also add that under the Mayan system, that you have a similar system under the Chinese astrology and under Mayan astrology as well, where they will tell you what a year means. You don't have that in Western, but you do have it in other systems as well.
Yeah. So anyway, ignore this, the 20, that's a typo error, but essentially the Navratri begins with the goddess Shaila Putri, which is the today's one. And the mantra, I've got it here, it's all on my website. So the mantra for Shaila Putri is Hom Devi Shaila Putriye Nama. Now, there are many, many mantras. You could also do with Akshat will tell you more about it. So each of these, there are there are stories associated with each of the days. Then tomorrow's is the Dvitiya, which is the second day of Navratri, and the goddess is Brahma Harini. Brahma Harini. And again, there's a specific mantra, Hom Brahma Brahmachariniye Nama. So, but yes, Akshat will tell you more. Akshat, do you have things
I want to say that, okay, why we do that? Why we worship Durga during this time when the sun is in Pisces? Okay, you can see that Pisces is a natural 12th house and sun over there in a Marana Karakasthana. Okay, so what we need, we invoke the protection of the Devi, the divine mother, because the sun is not protecting, because sun is going to be Ucha Bilashi over there, because it's going into exaltation and it will come into power, but first it has to go to the natural 12th house. Okay, so what has happened that the energy of the divine mother is very, very strong during this period, because the sun is out of the picture, Shiva is out of the picture, and Devi has stepped in. Okay, because when someone says something is weak, then we worship the divine mother for strength. So we worship the different forms of Durga during these 9 days actually. Okay, there are different systems of making these names, because one is the system in which on each day we worship different forms of Durga. Okay, the first is Shailaputri, then we go to the second and the third. Okay, and this is based on the Tithi system. Okay, this is based on the Tithi system, that is based on the water. Okay, but for as an individual native, Okay, there is only one form of the Divine Mother, that is one form of the Durga, that is actually blessing them. When you read, when you learn about higher jyotisha in Germany or into advanced classes of Parashar, you'll come to know that what is that form of your Divine Mother that is always protecting you. So people who doesn't know their form, they worship each one every day. So in that, in the all the 9 months, they cover one. They cover the one mother that is actually protecting them. We all have that one form of mother who's all, because we don't need 9 different mothers. We only have one mother. Okay, and she is enough to protect us. Okay, that is the first thing. The second thing that people mistake that, okay, the energy of the Divine Mother during Navratri is a Shukla Paksha. So there are 9 days, but puja has to be continued till the 10th day, because 10th form is the Durga itself. That is Vijay, success. Because you do on the 9 days she defeated demons, and the 10th day was his victory. So if you're starting to doing a Navratri puja, or something people start do Navratri puja, they do it only for 9 days, and that is one of the reasons that the puja is not able to fructify, because it has to be continued and finished on the 10th day, that is the Dasmi Tithi. Are you getting my point? Okay, so we need to do that, because this is a widespread that, okay, Navratri is only for 9 nights. Okay, the 9 nights of the Devi, and the 10th is the victory, that is the Vijay. So when you worship on the 10th day, then you are actually fulfilling each of the things that has happened during the 9 days of Navratri. Okay, and we will see that there are different forms. Those who don't know can worship according to the day, that the list is there on the screen, or simply you can do a Navana mantra. Navana, everybody can do a Navana mantra. Om, Am, Reem, Kleem, Chamundai, Vichye. That is a famous Navana mantra, and everybody should be doing this mantra if they don't know their particular form of Durga. And the number of malas or the number of rounds should be based on what they want. For example, if a person wants to increase their income, he must be doing 5 rounds of that mantra. For someone who is much more interested in about his health and having a bad health, you do this mantra 7 rounds of 108 every evening, and you will see that for 10 days, and you see that, okay, the improvement of the health has been there. For someone who has a problem with the home, 10 rounds. Who has problem with knowledge, or who wants to learn more things or higher knowledge, then it is 11 rounds. Someone who is not getting married, it has to be 13 rounds of the mala. That is how we are going in systematic ways, that what we are desiring, then it's on the opposite side. The desire is always of the opposite, because the desire is always the 7th. So we do the rounds and the opposite house, the desire. That is how we do it. Okay. And one of the best time to worship Durga or to worship goddess is during the Sandhya Kal. Sandhya Kal means when the sun is setting and the night is beginning. That is one of the best times when you can worship, and you can do that. Okay, so suppose someone who has a particular wish, and suppose someone says, okay, I need a child. Okay, then children are coming from the 5th house, then he should start doing 23 malas for 10 days, and the Devi will bless him with a child. If he knows his particular form of Durga very well, then he can simply do the Navana mantra. Okay, do you want to add anything?
No, that's fine. So bear in mind it. And Akshat, do you a rough idea how they can find their own individual?
That rough idea is actually, for that they need to get enrolled into one of higher learning courses, because that is how, because you need to learn through a lot of things, how the moon is behaving and everything to different Virgas. Okay, because this knowledge has been totally secret, and we are only giving a glimpse of it. Nobody knows, nobody even knows that, okay, only people doesn't know, nobody talks about it. What is the form of your Divine Mother? Only one mother gave you birth, and only one mother will always protect you. You don't need all the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't need all the rest. That is how we have to do things, because they will need to learn, because the problem with this is that people have forgotten about Devi worship.
Yeah.
Because that is why, that is the beauty of the tradition, because this is the forgotten knowledge.
But the Navarna mantra of Chamundai Vichye, right? That is one of the best mantras to do.
But because everybody can do it. It's a Prasiddha mantra.
Yeah.
You add Om, you made it 10 letters, so it is going to the 10th house. That is your Akash Lagna. And you do it.
I will put it in the Telegram group, that particular mantra. It's a very powerful mantra.
It's a very powerful mantra.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So when it's Navratri, so I try my very best to listen to the Devi Mahatmya, the Saptashati. But I wanted to ask you if I try to do it on Ashtami, I listen to the whole thing. Or should I do? What is the correct way for someone like me who doesn't really understand it so well, but I know I can do it?
The best thing is to do a simple puja every day that you can maintain for the 10 days. Okay. And there's a word of advice. People who are living in a grahastha jivan, okay, who are living at home, please do not do Saptasati part, because for Saptasati there are a lot of purity is needed. Okay, a lot of purity is needed, and then you have to do the Chandi Hridaya Sutra, and everything has to be done properly, and that purity cannot be maintained for someone who is living in a home, and that is for the sadhu. So that is the one of the things that I'll advise everybody, that don't do Durga Saptasati part. You can do Kunjuga Sutra, you can listen to Bhavani Ashtakam, you can start to sing Bhavani Ashtakam.
I think I've got the Kunjika Stotram, which is fantastic,
Don't do Saptasati, because you don't know what is the meaning of Durga. Durga came from the word Durga. Durga means a fortress to protect. Durga is a goddess who is worshipped when you're going to war, and the Saptasati is the manifestation of that power when you're going to war. So we don't want the energy of war in the house. You look at how the Indian system, Saraswati Puja and Lakshmi Pujas are done at home, and Durga Puja is done outside the home in the community. That is why because she's protecting the whole community like a fortress. Okay, so that is why we say that, okay, do simple puja.
That might explain why it's always a war zone in my home. So many years.
So from today, you're living on India. From today, after this class, you do and you take, if you want to do it for your home, simple, just do it 10 malas of Navarna month. You sit down and start doing it, and do it till Dasmi. 10 days has to be there. Until then only this process will convert into victory, because that is why the Dasmi is called Vijay Dashmi, when you celebrate during the Shara. That is the day when you achieve victory over all the problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, in case you can't do that, I would recommend from the Damar Tantra, which is the dialogue bit of the Damar Tantra is a very beautiful ancient text, and that is the dialogue between Lord Shiva and Parvati. And there the Kunjika Stotram or Kunjika Stotram is literally like, it's not very difficult to read. You can just print it out and read it. It's like 2.5 pages every evening, but that is a very powerful stotram. It's one of my favorite stotrams, for this time of the year,
Bhavani Ashtakam also. You have Bhavani Ashtakam also.
Even Bhavani Ashtakam is very nice. So I will put all this in the chat, in the main,
Okay, lovely.
Anyone who can do Bhavani. Bhavani is from the word Bhava. What is your emotion? It controls all emotion, and one of the very fantastic remedies for the moon, Bhavani Ashtakam. If you have trouble with the moon, you start singing Bhavani Ashtakam.
Okay, so let's stop now, and thank you very much.
We'll stop and we'll